My name is Brian Jones. I'm a longtime educator and public school parent in New York City, and I work at the Center for Educators and Schools at the New York Public Library. This is the editorial of the New York Times giving their opinion, their official stance on the 1964 school boycott in New York City, printing it just days before that boycott. And even if you don't read the article, the headline tells you where they stand. A boycott solves nothing. The New York Times calls it reckless. They say the organizers have stubbornly closed minds. They call them unreasonable. They say it is the violent, illegal approach of adult encouraged truancy, and that all that can be hoped for is gradual alleviation of imbalances. I think they really give the game away when they say the children should be in school, getting the best education they can to cope with a world in which they are bound to be at a regrettable disadvantage anyway. Whew. That's really condescending. I mean, it's white people who are in charge of the New York Times, and they're clearly not thinking that Black parents or students or teachers are their audience. They're saying that this protest is going to alienate public opinion. Well, which public opinion? It's interesting to compare the New York Times with the Black press at the same time. If you go through the papers of the Amsterdam News, for example, you see a whole different perspective on these boycotts. You see what leads up to them. Before we get to 500,000 children boycotting school, the largest protest of what we call the civil rights movement traditionally, for decades we have documentation of Black activists and others sitting with the Board of Education trying to propose plan after plan after plan for desegregation. Yeah, there's a lot that builds up to a moment like this that shows that activists had tried to kind of go through what you might call proper channels to make these changes. I think that writing this editorial, it helps to cover racism, inequality, and segregation in New York City by smearing the activists led by people like Bayard Rustin, Milton Galamison, smearing them as unreasonable, and then saying that the people who they are defending in this editorial, like the people in charge of the school system, by saying that they are eminently reasonable, that they're coming up with plans, that they're doing the best they can. This smells to me like the same battles that we have today in New York City, where people of privilege want to defend the resources, opportunities, whatever they've hoarded for their children. And anytime somebody encroaches on that and wants to share the resources, frankly, there is a big reaction. The movement to desegregate schools was more successful in the South than it was here. And so when people finally called that out, I mean, this is 1964, almost a decade after Brown versus Board of Education. When people finally called this out, there had been decades and decades of rationalization of segregation in the North and great care not to use that word. When somebody called it out, they reacted with fury. This is a furious editorial. At the heart of their argument for why that is the case, why they think that this boycott is such a bad idea, you just can't do it. It's impossible. You can't. There's just the imbalances are too great, and the geography won't permit it, and it's just a logistical impossibility. I think that attitude is another one of the ways that, not just in New York City, but all over the country, people have rationalized inequality. And discovering these stories of struggle in the past cut two ways, because on the one hand, it's inspiring that there were movements that resonate with what young people are concerned about or thinking about today. But it can be depressing to see in these past struggles demands, objections, controversy that is so similar to the kinds of demands, struggles, controversies that we grapple with today.